Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Covenant Connections with my good friend Bill. How you doing?
Doing great, Ariel. How are you?
I'm excellent, and yet again we are. We can't wait to to
I'm
record
s-
these sessions.
I'm so excited. Every week I look forward to this.
Yes, this is so cool. So I want to start off by asking all sorts of questions that might seem very, very basic. They might seem very, I don't want to call them weird, but maybe they're laughable by others. But I have to tell you that I just don't know what's true, what's not, and I want to hear it from the source, right? So tell me, is it true that followers of the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints need to wear some sort of a specific garment underneath their clothes? And if so, tell us more about it because there is something in parallel in Judaism as well.
There is. So I'm going to explain all that to you. I'm just trying to maybe find a picture here.
So, first of all, you're saying this rumor is true. It's not a rumor, it's true.
It is true that the LDS underwear exists, but I need to explain it. Okay,
And
and I'll actually show you
that's
some
how it's
pictures.
called? It's called the LDS underwear, or is
It's
it?
called garments. Temple
Yeah.
garments is what they're called.
Okay.
Okay. So, just like in the other Christian religions, sometimes the priests wear robes and they have different vestments that they wear. And in the Jewish religion, and you're going to talk more about this in a minute, I hope, but there's a prayer shawl and things that we wear and things that we wear underneath and over, right? Underneath is like, it's not for show, it shows a inner conviction, right? It keeps it close to us, if we will. So, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, once they have gone through the temple ceremonies, so it's not every member of the church that has them. It's part of um, the covenants that we make when we go through the temple. And there are, obviously specific requirements to enter the temple, to participate, and to take upon ourselves those covenants, which are obedience and sacrificing our mind and our will to God, different things like that. Okay. And these garments that we wear have a very symbolic purpose. One is they remind us of those covenants that we have made,
Wow.
and they also are a representation of, it's very similar to how God clothed Adam and Eve. We talked about that in another episode, how he gave them coats of skins. So we think of it as God giving us this garment to cover us, to remind us of him, and to remind us of our covenants with him. It's not for show. I mean, we don't run around, look at my garments, but we hold them sacred. And, some people make fun of us because of it, but I think that's just because they don't understand. And they don't understand that other religions have symbolic clothing as well that means something sacred and special to them. So, do you want to see what they look like?
Of course.
All right, I'll just
So
show
it's
you
both
these,
both men and women?
both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is a very sacred thing, and I'm going to treat it that way.
Yes, of course.
Obviously, I will answer every question you have. I have no problem with that. But let me go here. All right, can you see that?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just a t-shirt and kind of like long
So,
boxers, if you will.
but you need to wear it all day long, right? It's not like for just when you visit the temple or something.
No, we wear it day and night.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so obviously we don't wear it when we go swimming or do activities that would desecrate it, if you would, you know. Um, a lot of like professional athletes. There's a lot of football players that are members of the church that have garments. Many of them don't wear their garments when they're out getting beat up on the football field, for
Mm-hmm.
example, because they feel that wouldn't be respecting or reverent
Nice.
towards that. Of course, when you shower or whatever, you know, things like that. But we do try to wear it day and night as a reminder and as you know, we call it protection. That's probably where people get some of the confusion. Um, because protection is an interesting word, right? Protection means when we remember and keep God close to our heart and close to our minds, it provides protection to us. Doesn't mean it's magic underwear, right? Bullet's still going to go through it. It's not like it's Superman clothes. It's sacred reminders of who we are and what we believe and the
Nice.
covenants we've made. That makes sense?
It does. Very, very interesting. And do you know the origin of this?
Adam and Eve being
Adam and
clothed
Eve.
with garments in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And also in the book of Exodus, it talks about the sons of Aaron being clothed in the robes of the priesthood to serve in the temple. So there's many references to it, but I'm very interested in what you said at the beginning, that there is a correlation possibly with some things in Judaism.
Yes, yes, there is. So let me show you the book of Numbers. I think it's chapter 16. Let's see if I'm right. All right. Okay. Can you open the book of Numbers? Uh,
I'm there.
it's actually, I think it's actually chapter 15 and not 16, verse 38. Yes.
Yeah,
All
I can
right.
share that.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue. A riband, or I don't know how you say that word, but yeah.
Ah, so what do you make of this? What does it mean in English?
To me, it means that the Lord told Moses that the children of Israel should wear some garment with some specific symbolic features to it.
Yes, exactly. So there is something that is called tzitzit or talit katan, which means
Mhm.
it's a garment that you put underneath your clothes, at the end of which you'll have these specific small ropes that you tie in a specific knot. It's not you that ties it, but when you buy it, it's
They're
already tied.
tassels, right? They have
Yes.
633 knots or something like that.
Yeah. So it's not exactly 613 knots. I'll
13.
get to that in a second. Let me
Okay,
just show you how it looks, just so that
let
you
me
can
stop
see.
sharing. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the thing. You see, you
Yes.
basically put it underneath your clothes, but these four strings here, these are two in the front and there are two in the back.
You're surrounded.
You're
Yes.
surrounded. So basically, the word itself. In Hebrew, we use it's called gematria, which means you translate the letters to numbers. So like A would be one, B would be two, right? So you have
Hmm.
specific numbers for the letters. How's it called in English? Is there a name for this method or
Um,
system?
we don't really use that, but we would call that a code or something that you decipher.
Yeah. In Judaism, we do that very, very often.
Hmm.
A lot of words have the numbering, and the numbering means other words, other things, and so forth.
And
So,
the number of his name is 666. Those types of things, right?
well, specifically, yeah, well, 666, yeah, I don't know about that, but
That's a
technically,
whole other discussion.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a whole other discussion. So, so what happens is that the word itself means 600, is translated to 600. You have two strings here, and two, and so it's double strings here, and another two in the
Hmm.
back, which means eight, right? So it's
Uh-huh.
608, and there are five knots, which
There we
brings us
go.
to 613, which is the number of the commandments. That's how we decided to translate the word mitzvah, right? Mitzvah is the commandment that you need to do. It's not just the Ten Commandments, all of the
All right.
commandments that the Jew is supposed to adhere to. 613, and so it symbolizes that thing, that number, and those are. This is meant to remind the person constantly of those 613 commandments
It
that you need
is,
to
it's
do.
very similar. Again, we see that the Lord follows a pattern, some sort
Exactly.
of clothing, undergarment that represents symbolically something that we need to remember about him and what he's given to us. Very
Exactly.
same, very much the same.
Yes. Yes. That's also the purpose of the yarmulke that the Jews wear. It's like a barrier between us and God to constantly remember our place. And
I got to wear one when I was at your house.
yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, but as you can see, there are various. Also, the yarmulkes is a bit indicative of what type of Judaism that person is following. You can see ones that are made of wool, maybe, or more of cotton. You can see ones that are black. You can see ones, that are quite
Uh-huh.
wide that go throughout the entire head, and you can basically know which
That
frac.
reminds me of, remember when I first came to visit you in Israel and the cab driver was lost and he didn't speak English. So I called you and your question to me was, what is he wearing a yarmulke and what does it look like? And I thought, that's a very strange question to be asking, but now I understand it means something, right?
It means something. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't want to just pull your leg whilst you get lost and try to. There was a reason for that. But yeah, I probably just wanted. I don't remember that, but I probably just wanted to know. Yeah, who the driver was. But yeah, you can tell. Let me show you some examples that you can see the difference, and you can already know many of the types of yarmulkes. So this thing, let me share it over here. Here we go. So you see this type of yarmulkes, these kids over here.
Uh-huh.
You see, these are usually people living in Judea and Samaria. Usually, I'm generalizing
Right.
dramatically here, but usually you will find these types of people. It's called in Hebrew. It's translated as the religious Zionism movement. The religious Zionists, who are the ones the world calls them settlers, but we call them it's the inhabitants of Judea and Samaria. On the other hand, you can see, how about this one, if it will show it to me. You see, These are more Orthodox Jews. Yeah, you can see these are
Uh-huh.
black yarmulkes. Um, and uh, let's see if it'll show me this thing. And these guys, I don't know if you've ever seen them because they are uh, pretty prevalent in the United States. If you've heard of Chabad, if you heard of Chabad, sometimes you will
I
see
have
this.
not.
So in New York, you can see them. This is some sort of a movement in Judaism following Rabbi Nachman, and they have these specific very big yarmulkes on their head, and it looks like this. These people usually dance in the streets, and they're very vocal and very happy, and they honestly believe that joy is one of the most basic commandments that you have to follow and preach for everybody to be joyous, because life is a
Yeah.
present and you need to celebrate it.
It's interesting. There's a verse in the Book of Mormon where it's talking about Adam and Eve and their fall. It's one verse, a short verse, but it's very fascinating because it says, Adam fell that man might be, and men are that they might have joy. Which just tells us, God put us here not to be miserable. He put us here to find joy. But we recognize joy because we have sorrow, from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Well,
I'm wondering, so how did they make the connection between the fall and the joy?
how did they make that connection?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know every answer in the world, but I do know that the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil gave them the ability to understand the difference between joy and sorrow, pain and no pain, goodness and badness, right? And so joy, in one sense, came about as the opposite of pain and sorrow. And so, if we are in this life to overcome pain and sorrow, then the purpose is to find joy, which is that opposite. Joy comes through faith in God and trusting in Him and allowing Him you know, to see there's a bigger picture than the circumstances sometimes that we're in.
So
So,
joy is actually mentioned numerous times in the Bible, both
mhm.
by King David in Psalms and by King Solomon in his, I'm not sure how you say it in English, um, one of his famous books of morals, uh, Proverbs.
Proverbs,
Yeah, Proverbs.
Proverbs. Uh-huh.
Um, and also, there's the obligation, I would say, to be happy in Deuteronomy in your holidays. So there's
Hmm.
actually a verse in Deuteronomy, I think it's 16, chapter 16, and verse 14, which says, "Be happy in your holiday." And then it goes on and says, and you shall, maybe you should read the actual translation in English, but the literal translation from Hebrew is, "V'samachta bechagecha v'haita ach sameach." And we have a song for that.
Sameach.
"V'samachta bechagecha."
I have heard that before.
Yeah,
So,
so
so what verse is it in Deuteronomy 16?
I think it's 14. What does it say?
And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, the widow, that are all within the gates.
And what does it 15 say? What does 15 say?
7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice.
Uh,
It is true, Ariel. We have
right.
great
So
re
Thou shalt surely rejoice.
Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice.
So let me dwell.
What's the Hebrew
Yes.
translation?
So let me dwell on that for just a second. I don't know. I'm not trying to be judgmental of the translation, obviously, and they're doing the best they can. But I have to tell you there's a bit of a difference here. In Hebrew, it says, V'haita ach sameach, which basically you will only rejoice. It's like this can be translated to you will have no other feelings but rejoicing, which is very interesting because you can translate it as it's not enough just to be happy or rejoicing, but truly rejoicing. This becomes your essence in those moments of fulfilling this specific divine commandment of rejoicing. So I find it fascinating that it's not enough to give you the order or commandment, rejoice in your holiday, or the way it was written, which is kind of a tick the box kind of a commandment.
Yeah, yeah.
There is something about the emphasis of all that long laundry list of all the people who should be happy in your holiday, right? And um, and and God blesses you with the fruits of your labor. And when you understand that you are blessed, you will feel nothing but the joy. When you actually read that specific verse, you will feel nothing but the joy. And when it
I
says,
think that's
surely you will
better.
rejoice, yeah,
I
you
think
do?
that's better. Because, one of the leaders of our church, which we consider them prophets, right? So to me, listen to them is just like listening to
It's
these
just like
people
reading
that
the
wrote
book.
it.
Wow.
It is. He said, the joy and happiness that we experience in life has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our lives,
Wow.
which I think is what that's saying. If our focus is in the right place, we're going to have joy, regardless of our circumstances. Some of the most impoverished people in the world are also extremely happy. And we would look at them and say, but you have nothing. But they understand happiness and joy isn't about what you have, right? It's about recognizing the blessings that life provides, that God provides, however you choose to see that, right? And what you focus on.
So I grew up in a family which is not religious. My parents also did not grow up in a religious house, and beyond just the specific holidays of Passover or whatever, there was not a lot of emphasis about religion. So my first deepest, I would say, encounter was during my bar mitzvah, when I had to study with the rabbi towards reading a portion of the Bible in my bar mitzvah. And when I finished the entire ceremony and everything, and it was time to part from my rabbi, I told him that I felt connected and what could I do to keep that connection going, which is funny. I was only 13 at the time. And he said there are a lot of things that you can do, but I'll give you only one task. And he said, I'm going to read something to you, 2 lines, write them down. And he said in Hebrew, מודה אני בפניך מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, רבה אמונתך. Which means, I thank you, the living and eternal King, for mercifully restoring the soul within me. Your faithfulness in me is great. So this is a blessing that all Jews say first thing in the morning. You open your eyes and the first thing you say, I thank you for restoring the soul, for bringing the soul back into me. You have a lot of faith in me. Thanks for having the faith in me
That is
to,
beautiful.
yes. And that is beautiful. I actually took that little note. I took some tape, put it right next to my bed. That was the first thing I saw in the morning. And I've been saying that since. Yeah, I don't want to tell you how many years have passed. Well, but but I have to tell you, out of all the things that you can do, opening your day with gratitude and not taking it for granted that you just opened your eyes and remembering why and who enabled you to do so. And the thing I love about this specific, there are so many prayers in Judaism, obviously, but this one is not even a prayer. It's a direct conversation with God.
Yes.
It is so unique. It's not like you get up and you wash your hands and you do. There are so many prayers that you need to do in Hebrew, in the Judaism. This is, you open your eyes and you say this, the first thing. And there's no ritual about it. It doesn't have to be out loud. It's just the simplest but most profound thank you and gratitude for being alive.
That reminds me of a story. There's a man in our church. His name's David A. Bednar. He's an apostle now, but at the time he was the president of a university, Brigham Young University, Idaho, BYU, Idaho, right? And it's a church school. And one day, one of the apostles, he wasn't an apostle at the time, but this apostle from church headquarters was coming to visit the school and was staying with David Bednar and his wife at their home.
Hmm.
And that day, one of their closest family friends had passed away. And they were sorrowing. They were having, it's grief, and you think about the family that got left behind, and they're very close to them. And all they want to do is pray for these people, that they'll be comforted and all that. Well, this apostle, Henry Eyring is his name, he came to their home and he didn't know anything about that. But he came to their home, and at the end of the night, they were going to have a prayer together, and they all kneeled down. And David Bednar asked his wife if she would say the prayer. And the apostle looked at her and said, "Would you please make this prayer only gratitude and only thanks, and not ask for anything, just a prayer of gratitude?" And they said, with all that pain and sorrow, instead of asking for comfort, she prayed for about how grateful they were for their friends and their knowledge of God and what He does for them in their life. She said it was the most amazing experience.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So I agree with that. I think gratitude, so often we get so caught up in what we feel are the traumas and difficulties of life that we fail to look around and see how much we've been blessed, you
And
know?
in Judaism, there's also a discussion about how much energy you invest in the things that you need to fix and you try to fix in your life versus how much energy you invest in gratitude. Because you can be thankful, but just pay attention to how long are you thankful versus how long are you trying to fix something or request from God things that should happen to you or you want them to
Yeah.
happen. Just the comparison of, even if you are grateful for something, it's like it passes like this instead of
Yep.
really marinating in the gratitude as is. And so there are so many prayers in Judaism in which you ask God for things, but the first thing you do when you open your eyes, and the first thing you do when you realize that the energy of life is renewed every day to you, and it's not to be taken for granted,
It's
is first
not.
just pure thank you, pure gratitude, pure, oh, I'm so lucky to be here.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I love that. I
You know, we,
absolutely
we
love
have we have a scripture. It goes like this. In nothing does man offend God more than when he fails to acknowledge his hand in all things. When we don't stop to thank him and see all that he does for us, that's what saddens God. He's given us so much, and sometimes we just fail to even
Yeah, to realize.
notice or
Yes,
acknowledge it.
it's true.
There's power in that. There's
Yeah,
power in that.
and actually, it's been also physiologically and biologically proven. Gratitude, it focuses you and secretes all sorts of hormones that makes you happier, not only in that second, but it resonates to other people. And another interesting point, I want to tell you something about Jews. So Judaism in Hebrew, Yehudim. How do you say in Hebrew thank you? Do you remember?
Oh, you taught me that.
So it's
I can't
Todah.
remember.
Todah. Todah
Ta-da.
or Todah Rabbah. Todah Rabbah is thank you very
I
much.
remember I tried to remember it. I'd say ta-da, but it's
Yeah,
ta-da.
exactly, exactly. Ta-da! Talk about gratitude with some fireworks on a musical.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Yeah. So so when Judah is born, Leah says, "I will thank God. This time I will thank God." So the she said in Hebrew, "Odeh et Adonai." Odeh is interpreted as the root for the name Judah. Odeh and Judah, it sounds alike. So even the root of Judaism, of being a Jew, is rooted in the word thank you
Wow.
in Hebrew. It's a people that gratitude is a part of the identity, of the essential identity of the people. Yeah, so
And
it is profound,
it is profound.
and it is especially difficult to remember to be thankful when times are tough and we get bogged
Yeah.
down in the situation.
You know, two things. Several years ago, I went through a major financial setback in my life where I lost everything. I almost lost my house. I started a business. It failed. I put everything into it. I couldn't make my house payment, couldn't support the family. It was horrible. And people would reach out and help us, and it was amazing. But in that process, you can do two things, one of two things. You can either get bitter about it or you can turn to God. And I'll tell you what, and I tell people this all the time. I never want to go back through that experience ever again, but I would not trade what I learned at that time. The things that I gained were, I don't know how I would have gained them any other way that fast. And I'm grateful for that. And this the same thing, and you know this, Ariel, that my wife has cancer, and that's a hard thing. Do I want her to have cancer? No. Am I grateful for the focus that it's put in my life? Yeah. Am I grateful for every day? Yeah. Didn't always see it that way before. I think sometimes the difficult circumstances can turn our hearts, and that's important.
That's definitely important. And thanks for sharing. I actually, you reminded me of the time 20 years ago. I went through a divorce, and I was like at the lowest point in my financial life. And I actually remember I was standing in a grocery store, and my favorite cereal was on discount. I had a discount. Like instead of, I don't remember, 21 shekels, it would be like 17 shekels. And I remember vividly how I stood there debating with myself whether I can afford these measly 17 shekels. which roughly
It's
translated
real.
$4 or $5 today, right? So
Yeah.
I was standing there, and I decided I'm not gonna use the last money that I had to buy that cereal, and I bought all the only the things that I needed, and then I left, and I had this really old car, and I drove it, and I, I I I stopped at a red light. It turned green. I pushed the pedal. It's not moving. It's making all these weird noises, and it's not moving. So I had it towed to the garage. The guy calls me up, says it's gonna cost you 2,000 shekels. So mind you, I didn't have 17 for those freaking cereals. How the heck am I gonna get 2,000 shekels now? And do you want to hear the first thing I did when I heard these news? Because I was totally like, what am I gonna do? This is like crazy. I called up my friend. I said, please come pick me up and take me to the nearest pharmacy. So in Israel, we have this chain. It's like, I don't know, a CVS.
Yeah.
It's called Super Farm. At the cashier, there's always a charity box. Is that how you call it when you
Hmm.
can donate? I
Yeah.
had like a shekel and like 10 cents in my wallet. Everything that I had, I donated to that box. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. I don't know. I honestly cannot answer, but I had the feeling that I have to give. And it was, looking back, it was very, very meaningful to me. It was very strong.
Yeah.
It didn't, like, you can always feel gratitude. You can always sense that, you're not alone in this. And that's what I felt. And that's how I reinforced that feeling that I'm not a victim. I'm not miserable. I'm not, and it took me to a different spot. And here we are 20 years later.
Yeah. It does that. When we get out of ourselves and put our trust that there's something bigger than us guiding this whole thing, the universe moves. I mean, whatever you want to call it, the universe moves, God intervenes. If we look for his hand, we will see it. I mean, the more grateful we are for him, I think the more we recognize it. It's not that he's not there all the time. I think he is, but we don't always recognize it unless we're looking for it and grateful for it when we see it. That's a beautiful story, Ariel.
It is. Thanks so much. Can you help me check what Psalms 116 reads in verse 12?
I can. Psalms 116. Psalms chapter 1. There's only
No,
six verses.
chapter 116.
Ah,
116.
that makes more sense.
Oh, sorry.
My fault. 116, verse.
Verse 12.
116, Psalms, verse 12. What shall I render unto the Lord for all his benefits towards me?
Yeah, that's a great translation.
Yeah. I was reading some verses the other night, and it talked about how the Lord has given us everything. And all he asks is that we remember him and try to honor him and obey him. And when we do that, he immediately blesses us, and we're right back indebted to him for all the benefits and blessings that he gives us. You know, he will always be ahead of us, blessing us, and all we can do is be grateful for the omnipotent being who, for whatever reason, reaches out and puts us in the palm of his hand.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. I think this is the perfect ending for this unique episode. I hope our listeners and viewers are as grateful as we are for the time that we spent talking about this, one of the most important issues and subjects in our belief, I would say, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, my dear friend.
I'm
Thanks so
grateful
much.
for you. I am grateful
And
for you. All right.
absolutely. You are one of my daily gratitudes for sure. All right. Thanks.